Jordan. I'm a curator for JTR Presents, and I have the privilege and pleasure of talking to Johan Astratha Eskew. Johan, thank you so much for being here. It's definitely a treat to have you as a part of this project.
No problem.
So,
No problem.
yeah, so About Dual Diagnosis is an exhibit in partnership with Champ and Dawn's Alzheimer's research project. Um, when I was first brought on to this project and we were brainstorming what this would be, I remember them mentioning like it's for a conference and like a big part of the conversation is going to be around mental health, especially for men of color. And so when I started thinking about artists, long story short, I thought about William Paul Thomas. I thought about Carrington Gardner, thought about Marion Tisdale. And then I shared with you about it. And when you had shown me the video Semicolon, which is, we'll get into that a little bit later, it just made sense. It tied into everything I talked about the other artists because the more I think about this project, more I thought about this project, the more I've been doing the research into it, it all seemed to be rooted around the importance, for, especially for Black men, to be able to talk about mental health, to talk about trauma, talk about healing, and just having a space and experience to do that. And each artist has a different avenue to say about it. So with yours, it was specifically profound because Semicolon is this narrative from someone who is a survivor of an action that he survived through, and I think there's an intense strength and power in being able to talk about that openly. And so, getting into all of that, I just want to get into the first question: how does your work touch on the subjects of mental health?
The way that my work touches on the subject of mental health is more of a source of inspiration and I'll say a talking point to where you look at it and it's supposed to inspire certain questions and thought processes about mental health to get the conversation going on, what's going on. Can I talk about it? Yes, I can. And not it not being as taboo of a subject anymore. Because that's the point of why I make work that relates to mental health, is because it's something that this should not be taboo to talk about.
All right. And definitely see that through Semicolon. And so in general, because you've made and are still making several films for a filmmaker that touch on all kinds of topics. So I guess what inspires you to make this work in particular?
I think it's about the what if visually and how that formulates in my mind. Because I'm a what if type of artist, I like to describe it, where I'll have an idea of like, what if this and this, what if that and that, or what if we see this mixed with that? And how can I use that in order to stimulate a thought process within who's looking at it and get them to think more deeply about the subject matter itself.
So that's brilliant. That is what I experienced watching Semicolon. And forgive me, I forgot the gentleman's name, but it felt like a meditation, if you will. Like listening to his words, listening to him kind of open up about his thoughts, feelings, reminisce on what I understood to be potentially the cause of his attempt, which seemed to be the loss of a love. And there was this striking visual of looking at him with what looks like either cuts or his lips were sewn in some way. Like there's these like straight lines that are like very pronounced against his lips. Um, if you're comfortable, I'd like to explore that together.
Mhm.
Can you share more about that? What that? Well, can you just share more about that?
Yes. For that was a creative choice about him having his mouth sewn shut, with the idea that people, black males, people of color, males in general, don't feel they have the freedom to talk about what's wrong, what's bothering them, their mental health, issues that they're going through. It's kind of this almost this unspoken rule of you have to just take it on the chin and move forward. You're not allowed to speak about, how you feel. And that is the thing that I think is hurting people the most. Is because you might feel something, you need to talk about something, you need to express yourself, to someone, but not feel comfortable enough to do it. And then holding that in, figuratively being made mute is what causes people to make dangerous decisions. So seeing that visually, I think was helping to tell the story of, you know, not saying it, but thinking it.
Could my last thoughts and question of it, because again, the film feels very meditative. I feel like it's something each person should kind of watch and then just kind of think rhetorically upon. And so I say that to say one of the sort of questions that stayed with me as I thought about it was, I wonder if the level of catharsis, if there was a catharsis for the narrator, I guess, was that impactful after the making of the film? Or wasn't it? I mean, I don't know him, but from what was shared, it seems, I'd imagine that there was something profound that happened to him afterwards in a more positive way. I'd like to think that.
This film itself was a bit of a unusual but unusual experience, but in a very good way. Because for this project, I had to pitch it, and through the pitching process where I developed my team, I initially had a little bit of a challenge because some people didn't want to participate with it because they thought it was going to be a depressing process. However, the process of making it was a very loving, uplifting process. But I think it's because we all was uniting with the reason why it was being made. Because I remember very clearly on the film shoot, we were having fun, we were joking around, we were enjoying ourselves. It was a very unified experience. But I think it's because we were unifying behind why it was being made. So I think it did have a impact on all of us, and a unifying. I think it just had a really good impact on us because we were working towards something bigger than ourselves.
Oh, that's beautiful. Is that a common experience or practice specifically with you when with your work as you make films?
With films, yes. I'm very picky about the team that I work with, and it's more about the vibe and the skills. If they have the skill, I usually go to people who specifically have the certain skills that I'm looking for in order to build my idea uniquely to itself. And then I gauge the vibe that I have with those certain people to then see, can we work together and enjoy working together, rather than, they're the best cinematographer, but they're terrible to work with. I'd rather work with somebody who's a little bit less talented, but I can
Mm.
work with them because I will be able to bring the best out of them. They'll be able to bring the best out of me, rather than it being someone who might be a little bit more egotistical, but they have really good work on paper. But then that might bring down the
Mm.
project because of a lack of agreement between the team.
Mm, that makes sense. It reminds me of there was another filmmaker that was like, I think he was getting his master's or a doctorate at UNCG in film. And I remember this is back when I was working at the artist block, and we had this debate about filmmaking as either an art form or a collaboration. And I
Mm,
was like, why do we need to choose either or? It could be both. But if I have to pick one, I would say it's an art form before anything
mm,
else. And I think he was going with the argument that it's a production, it's a collaboration, it's literally just people coming together. And to him, that was the root of it. It the communi the way we were communicating, I don't think it came across that. But after
ah,
giving it much thought, I still think about that periodically. And so when talking to you and hearing about your movie ideas and even some of the things that we've done personally, like
yeah.
reading about your script and talking about, scenario writing and how to move the plot along and some of the gems that you've dropped for me to pick up.
Hmm.
I feel like I see more and more of his point, but I say all that because I think it's a good point to end on. You know, what is your experience in the process of healing and in the process of storytelling as a collaboration? What would you say about that? What would you share about that?
I with all that, I think that the art form drives us. The collaboration is the execution, especially when it comes to team sport art, which never thought put those words together before. But I think that's what filmmaking is. It's a team sport art form where you have a
Mm,
specific vision from a specific person or people, depending on if it's the producer that's doing it, the director, or the director that goes to the producer goes to the director. You have a specific vision that you're going for, and then you put together the team to make that vision come to life. And I believe it's a collaborative effort towards a specific vision. And how you put together that team is how you essentially see it all come to life. And if the artist's vision comes to fruition. There we go.
I appreciate that. Again, thank you so much for your time. It's an honor to have you as a part of this project and to work with you about it. And just thank you for your words of wisdom.
Thank you.